2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. How do I build a relationship with God when I feel like He's broken my trust? Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
What's up, Tyler?
What's going on, Brannon? How are you doing?
Good. How's your keto going? How's your weight loss journey?
Hey, it's actually been pretty good, man. I'm like wavering. I've kind of made a pact with myself. I don't know if I'm going to follow through on it, but I've had this facial hair for about 6 months. And as soon as I drop below 200, I think I'm going to go back to just shaving the beard off. And
no, don't do it. Go the other direction.
I clocked in at 201 yesterday. So next week.
I'm rooting for you to gain weight then, because I like your beard.
I'm down 24 pounds since the first of the year. So
good job, man.
Yeah, man. How's it going for you?
Awesome. It's good. I'm down 20.
Attaboy.
So I've kind of fallen off the wagon here a little bit. So I gotta jump back on, but down 20 since the new year. So
yeah, I figured the facial hair might actually help me with that last little bit of the challenge.
It doesn't weigh that much.
It doesn't weigh as much as that mop you've got on your head there that you need to shave off soon.
Yeah, now you sound like Dad. So,
yeah.
Well, should we dive right in?
Yeah, man, let's go for it.
Okay, we got Brian here with us today. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
If you could just give us a little bit of context and ask any questions you have.
Okay, yeah. So, I've been in recovery. I'm going to say some sort of recovery for the last 12 years, but real recovery where I felt like I was therapy and really doing trauma work the last 2 years.
Okay.
And so a little backdrop to the question, at our previous church, I was the worship director. I was a deacon and really was serving quite a bit. And my wife and we actually found out, I found out that my pastor at the time was having an affair. And me and my wife spoke with him about it, and he admitted to it. And so we tried to stay. We didn't know if he was seeking healing or not. So, he'd said the right stuff. So we were going to try to stay put. But we started seeing some signs that things weren't going the way he was saying that they were going. And so when we decided to leave the church, he was so afraid of what we would say that he then went and started attacking us. and it turned brutal. There were things that he and I had spoken about in like counseling sessions, one-on-one, that he was then sharing with other people in an attempt to.
Isn't that against the law?
I think so.
Probably against a couple of laws.
That's against the law.
Yeah, probably against a couple of laws. And so it really turned brutal. And we lived in a small town, so it was almost you couldn't escape it. And so coming back from that, we ended up moving across the country, and we're here in Washington now. But my relationship with God has been very, very difficult since that point. It feels like I'm riding a wave. Like I know I need to spend time with him. I know I need to do these daily things. Yet I feel like in that moment, and that moment lasted months upon months. It felt like, and I hate to say it this way because of what I've done to my wife, but it felt like betrayal in a sense. I felt like he should have stepped up. He should have protected us. He should have done something. And in that vulnerable state, it felt as if I was going through that alone, my wife and I. And so I've struggled with really going to church, really being involved in church. I am a member of a church, yet I feel like I critique it all day long. All I see is issues within the church. And then on a personal level, I just feel in my recovery, without that trust in God, I'm trying to figure things out on my own, finding ways to medicate without sexual pornography or giving in. So cannabis use has increased in my life. But I think at the root of it is I don't trust him enough. And so therefore I'm not building a relationship with him. And I don't know how to go about rebuilding that, because I feel like the things that need to be done, I struggle doing because I'm struggling in the relationship.
Tyler, do you want to ask some questions first, or?
Yeah, man, Brian, this is an awesome topic. I'm so glad you're here bringing it, because I know your presence on the show today is going to strike chords with lots of people listening. So thank you. Could you just kind of help Brannon and I just have a little bit of an understanding of your relationship with God before the traumatic event happened, what that looked and felt like, who was God to you, and then how it shifted since then?
So before that, it felt like, even with the entire addiction, I felt like I didn't have the tools, but the one thing that kept me afloat was my relationship with God. Like I just felt like I had a father who, like previously I had thought of God as like this tyrannical ruler, and where I had to serve him or else I was going to go to hell. But over the last 15 years, I really started to understand him as a loving father. I started to see his grace and mercy in my life. Like it was so, like the best part of my day was spending time in his presence. And so I would as cliche as it sounds, he was everything. He was my best friend. He was, I really felt like I could go to him. I could sit at a park for hours and just spend time listening to worship music and talking with him. Since then, it feels like it did prior to that time, where it feels like I have to do these things in order to maintain some sort of relationship, in order to not fall too deep into sin or to get into heaven. So it feels like it's a necessary relationship, but it's not really relational. So the intimacy is missing. Like we're still around each other. There's just no intimacy there.
Yeah. Okay. Could you talk a little bit more too, Brian, about like, I guess I'm just wondering, like the details of the emotional process of, it's quite a journey you've been on, where you've seen God from as a tyrannical ruler to a loving father, to actually feeling and experiencing that grace and mercy. And then how was God in the details of the betrayal that you've experienced? Can you describe that a little bit?
I mean, I think the best way to describe it was a moment that I had. I didn't know what was happening. I knew I felt like a lot of angst. I was in a moment of prayer, and I was really trying to worship and spend time. And out of nowhere, I just blurted out, you didn't do anything. And tears just rolled down my face. And I don't think I've ever rectified or reconciled that feeling of like, I felt like he didn't do anything, that he watched it all happen. And he just watched from afar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Brian, what's your relationship like with your dad?
Complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Complicated. He was a pastor growing up my entire life. My dad was a pastor. And then he's actually going through his own recovery. But I just found that out probably 4 or 5 years ago. So my entire childhood, I was struggling with pornography. He was too, as an adult, but I never knew it. And so I think there's that part. And then there were traumatic events where I was going through a court case at 12 or 13. And there was like a really traumatic incident where we were like on our trip. We're going on a family trip and all of the kids were complaining because we wanted to do doom buggies, but we each wanted our own personal doom buggy and we had to share. So, we're 13, like between ages 11 and 14, we're just complaining and complaining. And my dad turned around and said, Brian, we would have the money to do it if we didn't have to pay for your lawyer. And I remember like in that moment, we all just started crying. Like everyone in the car just started crying. And then my mom came to apologize for him, but he didn't. And so I do believe there's this mix of like childhood stuff, plus also this feeling of I went through this entire addiction. I felt like I was alone in it, but the whole time you were going through your own. And I didn't need him to be perfect, but I would have liked to have known I had someone in the fight with me. Like I wasn't the outcast of the family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you see the parallel there between your complicated relationship with dad, your experience with your pastor, and now your complicated relationship with God? Can you see the similarities?
Like I can see it. I feel like from the outside I can see it, but I don't understand all the nuances and how it intertwines and how it triggers or affects me on an emotional level. Okay. So my brain can see it, but my emotions are like, I'm not processing it at all.
Right. From what I hear, and tell me if I'm wrong, this masculine presence, both masculine and also connected to God, whether it's a pastor, whether it's your father who's a pastor, or God himself, is somebody who is there, somebody who is trying to do good, somebody who lets you down, somebody who lives a secret life, somebody then who also abandons you and betrays your trust. Are all three there with, is that there with all three of these relationships?
Oh yeah. I would say so. Like, I think, and the other part is, I think each of them have some things that they share. Some are like each of those relationships have things they share. I think one of the things that I feel a little bit different with the pastor, I just didn't have that. There were expectations I didn't have with him as a pastor. We're with God and my dad. I definitely have this sense of, you should have been there for me. And really, I think the biggest sense is you watched me suffer. Mm-hmm. And how did you not step up when I was suffering so much, when you had what I needed, but I felt like you didn't give me what I needed in that moment. Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of documenting on some notes here while you were talking, and I just maybe kind of curious to explore the emotional part that Brannon was asking about. I wrote down dad equals your pastor, pastor equals God. And here you are with your experience going from a tyrannical God who probably represented certain things that happened, not to mention this experience, and I'm sure there were probably others, but what was the primary emotion when your dad, who is also secretly battling his own stuff, being a hypocrite, turns to you and says those things to you about, hey, if we didn't have to pay for your lawyer, we could probably afford to do this kind of stuff. Like, what was the emotional experience for that 13, 12-year-old kid?
Yeah. The emotional experience then, without knowing what was going on in his life, it was another feeling of betrayal, because for the entire process, I didn't know that he had this negative emotion towards me.
You thought he was just supporting you.
I thought he was supporting me. I thought he was in my corner. All of the words that were spoken, I thought I had someone in my corner. So I had known that I had messed up. I had known, like, I felt like I knew all of these things. Like, I know that I've caused issues with the family. Like, I'm well aware of it. I thought he was in my corner. And in that moment, to show up in anger felt just like another sense of betrayal. Like, I thought you were in my corner. What is, like, there was just a part of shock. I don't know that I processed it and really understood it until my early 20s, just how, yeah. I'd almost blocked it out up until my 20s. I remember the moment. And it was just a sense of shock. I'm not quite aware of, like, where's
was it the so that feeling that you're describing, that shock, it's like, man, the form of betrayal was that you thought you were in a safe place with someone you could trust, and that he left you out hanging out to dry, basically, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm just wondering, if you were to judge it based off of the emotions that are there, is that a similar experience to what you experienced when this all broke loose with your pastor, with God?
Very, very similar. Less of the shock, but more of the, I thought you had my back. Like, I thought you were in my corner. I thought you were the one, if anything were to happen, you were supposed to protect me. And yet I feel like you did the opposite. So I don't think the shock was there as much as just that sense of
the same feeling of being hung out to dry.
Being hung out to dry and being left alone to figure it out.
So I think the question here is that what God did? Because like, your dad is an imperfect, fallible man who betrayed you, who wounded you. And that absolutely happened. And in a lot of ways, he was a pastor. He's probably coming across as like, I got it all figured out, and I'm, and he's hiding this addiction behind the scenes. Your pastor, fallible man, imperfect. I'm a pastor. I'm, involved with this church, and but by the way, I'm having an affair. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna pin this on you. I'm gonna manipulate, and I'm gonna drag your name through the mud now, Brian. Fallible man. I think that's very obvious there. Right. And I don't know all the ins and outs. So now let's get to God. Is God imperfect?
No.
Okay. God is perfect. Does God love you perfectly?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Then how in the world?
Yeah, that's where the disconnection happens.
How in the world does God abandon you in that time of need when your pastor did this to you? Like, there's an answer to this question.
How do I feel that he did?
Yeah, like, well, what is God doing? Like, what is God doing with you, Brian? If like, in that moment when you needed God's help, it was just radio silence. It was just like, it wasn't there. What if God's love is perfect, and if we believe that God is loving you perfectly, and you're feeling abandoned, and you're feeling hurt, and you're feeling like, where art thou? Right? What could God be doing that's different than your pastor, different than your father?
Like, honestly, I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. Like, I can quote scriptures. Like, there's a lot that, like, there's a head knowledge of what he can be doing, but I haven't.
What's the head knowledge? What do you think that God could be doing there?
I think he could be, there's a lot. I think he could be building endurance in me. I think he can be, I think through it, even one of the things that's been positive is the way that I approach my relationship with my son and the desires that I have to be open and honest with him. I think there's empathy that's being created. Like all of these things I think he can be doing.
Okay.
In the moment, what I wanted him to do was honestly, I wanted him to come down and I wanted him to strike. Mm-hmm. And I wanted him to bear down. Like I didn't want then to look up and the pastor's preaching a message on a Sunday morning about me and my wife without mentioning me and my wife. Like I wanted him to come in and stop the show and say, no, I choose Brian. Brian and his family are right. You're wrong. And therefore, here's judgment on you. And like, that's what that's what I wanted.
So injustice is happening and God's not stopping it.
Yes.
That's what you wanted.
Yes.
But that's not what was happening.
That's not what was happening.
but we're going to hold on to this belief that God loves you perfectly. Right. So on one hand, you're saying, I know God loves me perfectly. On the other hand, you're saying, I don't trust God because God didn't do that. God didn't come strike him down. Right. How old's your son?
6.
Your son's 6. You know, Brian, one of the best things you can do for your son, and this sucks as a dad, but is you allow him to struggle. You back out of situations. You don't step in and take over. You let him flounder and you make sure he's safe. Right. But Tyler is a great example to me. He is so good at letting his kids struggle and they know they're loved. They know he's there, but they also know he's not bailing them out. Like he's not going to bail them out. And his kids are tough. His kids are strong. His kids are, they can handle difficult situations, and he has blessed their life because he didn't step in. Right. Are you following me? Yeah. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think what's been what's the difficult thing for me is still to overcome is it hurt. I didn't handle it well. Like I felt that moment, I didn't have what it took. Like that's part of it. It's like, all of these things sound great. I don't think I was that guy. I don't think I was there. And so in a way it was beneficial because it really pushed me. Like I can see where it's beneficial because it really pushed me deep into my own recovery because I didn't want to live the same hypocritical life. And I felt like I'm doing that now and I can see where it can end up. So I was able to see this picture of this is life if I don't really take my recovery seriously. So in that sense, it helped.
You don't want to be your dad. You don't want to be your pastor.
I don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be my pastor. But in that moment, there was so much turmoil in my own life. My addiction got worse during that period. There was a lot of my marriage was worse in that period. And so I felt like I can't handle it. Like I need to know that you have my back. Like I needed to see some clear sign that God, you're picking me. Mm-hmm. Like in this, I feel like it's me against him, and I want to feel like you're picking me, mm-hmm. and I don't feel like you're picking me.
Well, you just said something interesting there. Me against him. Do you think God loves your pastor?
Yeah. I do.
That's my question was, you said God, I want God to be for me. And I think God, if we're going with the Christian answers, God is for you, but he's also for your pastor.
And for your dad.
He's also for your dad. He's also, according to the Christian theology, isn't he for all of us?
I mean, he is. I could see it with my dad. Like with my dad, there was very much so like grace that I have for him in his situation. I think the difficulty with the pastor, even though I know God loves him, my wife says it all the time, like he loves you both, was that it felt so wrong. Like, I don't know how else
he continued those injustices. And so it's like, and so is God really helping him by allowing him to get away with that? Right.
And that was a part of it. And then it was like for my dad, when he was really struggling at his highest moment, he stepped away from church, stepped away from pastoring and said, hey, I'm going to deal with this issue. And so he dropped everything to put it first. And so to see the pastor, my old pastor, double down and in the process, before we left, attempt to manipulate us in order to get us to stay. And then once we, to shower us with as much adulation, it was we called it, it was manipulation through advancement. I'm going to advance you guys in the church in order to keep you here. And then, so I'm going to shower you with love. And then to turn from that to, no, I'm going to attack you. It just felt like, okay, God, there's evil here. And I'm not the evil one. Why is evil being able to preach from the pulpit? Like, that was the biggest thing. It wasn't that he was repentant. It was that at the same time he was preaching this message, he was also emailing us, threatening to sue us. And it's like, God, why are you not doing, like, do you not see this? Like, that was the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Man, like, Brian, you got such a pretty poignant story because of the nature of like where so much of your pain came from, right through the conduit, which is supposed to be the representative of God. It makes so much sense why you're struggling so badly. Could I just, I know that you know all the scriptures, but could we walk ourselves through just some of the basic Bible scriptures for a second, and just, it'll lead to a question, I promise.
Okay.
Oh, I like Tyler the scriptorian. I like
this. All right. Yeah. So bear with me, Brian. I'm not a pastor. I happen to be just a Christian dude who really loves the scriptures sometimes. So, but I want to walk you through. All right. Luke chapter 22. I'm using the King James version, but we could use any other version you want. All right. I don't think you're alone in this. And you ask the question, basically, God, why aren't you showing up for me? Right. And I actually want you to consider the question of, the answer was, I am and I was. And I'd like for you to look for evidence other than the stuff you've already found. All right. Christ says, as he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, beginning the penultimate occurrence of all of mankind for us as Christians, where he's in the garden and he's taking upon himself the sins of the world. And he says, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, and here's the key, not my will, but thine be done. And then further on, there's an angel that appeared strengthening him from heaven. And in the midst of that, God didn't come and take it away. What he did is he, being in agony, prayed more earnestly, and his sweat were great drops of blood. He was being put through the winepress, crying out to God, saying, why are you doing this to me? And God continued to do the pressing. And then if you go to later on, after he's been hung on the cross and crucified, he cries with a loud voice, one of the few sayings he says while he's on the cross. And what did he say?
My
God. Yeah. Say it, Brian.
My God, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? And then they were like, well, let's go see if God's going to save him. And they didn't. And then what happened right after he said that in the scriptures? He yielded up the ghost. He died. So was God for his son? And was his son wrong in asking God where he was at and why he'd been forsaken? And did his son actually, in that space of having felt forsaken, actually serve the purpose that God sent him to serve? And could that be a parallel to you sitting in church watching this man who's a total hypocrite, laying you guys' stuff open to the world, threatening you with legal stuff, and you go to God and God's saying, you going to God and saying, hey, why don't you do something about this, God? And God maybe just going, maybe I am through you. Maybe you and your wife choosing to actually confront your pastor was you doing God's work. And maybe God had to allow the wine press to happen towards his goal because he not only loves you, but he loves that pastor too. Is that just as possible as the story that you told yourself when God didn't do what you told him to?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you want to punch me in the face right now. I can see it in your face right now. That's okay. Like, what's going through you right now? What are you feeling? What's inside of you? What are you experiencing?
Like honestly, there's a part of me that, like, I understand that 100%. I think that's the correct perspective. I think there's part of me that loves holding on or wants to hold on to the victimization of everything that happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why?
What's it do for you?
Yeah, that's really honest.
You're not alone.
I mean, honestly, it gives me excuses. Like I can excuse behaviors. I can excuse not being where I'm supposed to be in life.
Oh,
like I can pass blame.
Okay, so instead of applying grace and the atonement to your life, I can say, you know what? Screw you, God. You did this to me, so I can disconnect from you, and then I can justify my behaviors because I have this disconnection from God and I'm the victim here. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think in those moments where so far in my recovery, it's been in the last year, it's been still that binge purge. And so it can be 3 or 4 months of great recovery. But I think that is that's a feeling that comes up when I am in a binge cycle is, well, okay, I think exactly what you're saying. Like, you let me down. So then therefore I should take care of myself. You're not that interested in taking care of me.
But you see, you're the one playing this game and like orchestrating the whole game. Can you see that?
I can see that.
Yeah, that's honest. That's what you just said. Like, you just undid a knot that I think is scary. It's hard. Because what that means is instead of being the victim and blaming God for your struggles and why you are where you're at, you know what? You can take some ownership and accountability for your life. You can practice actual grace, actual repentance, actual transparency and honesty in your recovery. Instead of saying like, well, I binge because God, you suck. Right. You just got really honest. Tyler likes that a lot. I do too, because that gives you a chance now to say, you know what, I can choose to let go of this story and I can allow God to come actually love me. Tyler and I both know right now, Brian, as you're telling this story, that God is fighting fiercely for your heart. And you don't know the things that you can't see. Like, maybe you moved because of this situation and maybe that God needed you somewhere. You said like, it's pushed me more into my recovery or thinking about my recovery. What a freaking blessing. Thank you, Pastor, for playing that role in Brian's life. Right. But you don't want to sit in the blessings and the gratitude. You want to sit in the resentment, because then you can play this game. And you just got honest about that, Brian. And I hate to tell you, once you get honest about it, it's like, uh-oh, I said that out loud. Now, but now you can take the power back. Now you can go praise God. You can allow God back into your heart, because you're not playing that game when you say that out loud, when you own that, right? What are you feeling?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to verbalize that. But But in saying it and in hearing it, I do like living with resentment. Like resentment has always driven my addiction. I think more than anything, once resentment grows in my heart, then the addiction becomes justified.
It
Those acts, I
justifies.
can justify those acts. I didn't realize until right now that's what I was doing in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Staying justified in the resentment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like justified in the resentment. Therefore, if you're not going to take care of me, then I'm justified to take care of myself, however I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's a big cost. Like that, it sets you up to protect yourself, to justify what you do, but at the cost of feeling God's love in your life and really feeling peace there. Right? You see what you're sacrificing for that protection that you're gaining from that justification.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I've noticed and why this question has come about, and I'm in the process of finding a therapist again, because what I noticed is my life has been lacking in what the relationship that I had with him and the attributes that came from it has been lacking for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And in times of where I'm not acting out, then I feel like everything is okay. But like right now, my wife is pregnant. She's working full time. She doesn't want to work anymore. And so after the baby, so I have to change my career. I applied to finish grad school. I didn't get in. And so there's all of my life is really changing a lot in a moment where I'm like, I need to rely on God. I'm just now realizing, wait, there's something missing in the relationship. I'm struggling to rely on him, but I haven't really needed him in the last year as much as I feel like I've needed him now. And now I realize there's something missing in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm more acutely aware of it.
Ryan, I just want to say before I ask my next question for you, just the impact with which your statement of accountability a few minutes ago hit me was profound. It basically filled up my whole being with just like this sense of peace and love for you and for the battle that you're fighting and for the man you're trying to be. And for you to say those things out loud, especially out loud enough for a significant audience to hear those things, you demonstrated a true principle of recovery that was an absolute gift to everybody who's listening. And I hope that you'll take to heart what Brannon said about how it's going to liberate you if you can learn how to let go of the need to be in control over all of this stuff. There is absolute freedom on the other side of that fear that comes from having to let go of control, especially when you feel like you've been abandoned before. Could I just ask you, like, again, these are like weird questions, but in the last 30 minutes that we've been talking, not so much the things you thought, but what have been the things you felt in the last 30 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah. A lot of sadness. Feelings of shame, just from the sense of like, I grew up in the church, I'm a Christian, I'm supposed to believe these things about God. Like, why do I not believe these things that I'm supposed to? Mm-hmm. So sadness, shame, but also like a feeling of relief, just being able to verbalize and pinpoint what's at the root of this. Mm-hmm. I think that's the transition. And I would say those are the three: sadness, shame, and then relief and hope.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just to speak to the shame really quickly. One of the reasons why I shared the scripture verses that I did earlier was to help with that actual shame, to show that Christ himself struggled with the same things. Like that you're not alone, that what you're experiencing is actually something that I think every single human being Any Christian goes through times in their lives where they're going to ask the same questions and feel the same ways. And it's the human part of us that does that, because we get addicted to safety and security, and we feel like our control is that. So you're not alone in that. So that can speak to the shame. And I don't think that the sadness is a bad thing to feel either. So, but what I love is that you have some hope, and hope is powerful.
Brian, I want to give you some advice, because I see something that I think could be problematic, that I'm concerned about. It seems like you're trying really hard not to repeat the pattern of your father. You're trying really hard not to be your pastor, and there's I sense some self-condemnation of like, man, I'm acting out. I'm behind the scenes. I'm acting out, and I'm kind of like them. I'm doing the very thing that I hate. I can't stand that my father did that. I can't stand that pastor did that to me. Yet here I go again. And but you're also playing this game of like, well, I get to because I resent God. And the fact of the matter is your dad and your pastor had good reasons to do bad things. Are you following me? Like they justified it. They played games with God. They did all these things to say, hey, this is okay. And I'm going to tell you how not to repeat the patterns of your pastor and your father. It's not about sobriety. It's not about like never masturbate and you're looking at porn or whatever that is. It's not about sobriety at all. You're trying hard to like justify reasons why you can act out or not act out or white knuckle or binge or whatever. It's not about sobriety. The difference between you and them is you're not going to allow yourself to live in denial anymore. You're going to be a transparent, honest man with yourself and with others. And you might act out. You might end up acting out. But I promise you, you'll act out a lot less, and you'll act out a lot less than them if you just commit to, I'm going to let God love me, and I'm going to know who I am as a man and know that I'm loved. So therefore, I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be honest. That's the difference. Your dad wasn't on. Now it sounds like he's doing his work and he's like really trying, and it sounds like he's a good man. Your pastor, maybe not so much. But your dad might be gaining this principle now, later in life. You can gain it earlier, as young as you are, and set that example to your son now of owning who you are, being honest, being transparent, and not having your son grow up and be like, wait, dad was what? Huh? Like I had no idea. Right. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Because I do see that trying to differentiate myself with my behaviors. Mm-hmm. And then, that makes a lot of sense.
It's not about your behavior. It's about your heart. So let your heart be clear, know who you are, and stop playing that resentment game with God, because you won't know that. And it'll be really hard to be that honest, authentic man if you keep this victimization game going with God.
I'm drawing all sorts of parallels to the scriptures today, so sorry, but you get another one. That's all right.
He gets triggered. He gets triggered by pastors.
He loves
Tyler,
preachers.
He gets triggered by pastors, and here you go.
Brian loves a good preacher, so I'm going to give him another one. So, but I was just thinking about this, with the life of Christ too, and what it must have been like for him to go to his own people. Like the place where he experienced the most controversy in his life was actually with the leadership of his own church, and somehow he served the purpose of God in calling the leadership of his own church to repentance, while also fighting for those same people and actually atoning for their own sins. And the reason I'm saying that is because, Brannon and I really love the book Wild at Heart. And I don't know if you read that or not yet, Brian, but I'd suggest you do if you're kind of wrestling with God. And one of the concepts inside of Wild at Heart is that we get wounded, and then God will pursue us through our wounds until we're broken enough to give ourselves to him, and then he'll give us a new name. And that new name might be something, it's not going to be like Brian changes to Adam. It's going to be something like Brian is a teacher, a guide, a warrior, something like that. And I actually think that maybe in your past year of experience, there might be a new name that's been starting to form that you haven't found or recognized yet. And I remember I read the book, I was in my own crisis. I went to John Eldridge's retreat, and they did this whole section on the new name. And then they sent us out into the woods to go do some journaling. And I'm sitting there journaling and I'm praying to God. And I'm like, God, like, who am I to you? Show me who I am. Like, tell me how you see me. And I got nothing. It was just like nothing. And I'm like, see, like, there you go. Like, God, like, here I am. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to try to find my name from you. And then I sat there in silence for another 20 minutes. And then I heard this little thing in the back of my mind that said, let me. It's like, I'm here, I'm praying, I'm journaling, I'm doing everything, like, show me. And then I heard and I felt, let me. And it occurred to me in that moment that, at least in my situation, I was still in the driver's seat as God. I was dictating to God how he was going to give me my answers instead of being open and willing to receive the answers the way they were going to come.
Faith.
And in that moment, boom, everything, my ego cleared out of the way, and I felt nothing but love. And I heard words. I heard teacher. I heard guide. And I felt this overwhelming sense of love, the kind of love that you described in your relationship with God when you said that you felt his mercy and his grace, and it was a give and take kind of a relationship. I know that feeling that you describe, and I know that you felt that before. And I believe that that's possible to have too, when the ego can be torn away and there can be nothing left but a heart that can give himself to God and know that he's going to make something more of you than you can make of yourself. So, preaching over. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Brian?
I mean, I'm trying not to just bust out in tears. No, that really resonates, because that's where I've been. It's like, who am I? Like, what do you want from me? This feeling of like I've done everything, and I feel like I'm consistently at this same crossroad. I don't know what to do in life. I don't know where to go. I feel like I've done it your way, yet I feel like your way is the best, but I don't trust your way, and I don't know what you want from me. And so it's just this crossroad of like, I know what it looks like when I do it my way, when I'm fully in control of my life. I'm aware, yet I don't trust it, you being fully in control. And so trying to co-control, as long as it's going where I like for it to go, I'll shift over. But as soon as I don't, and there definitely has been this sense of, what am I supposed, like, for the last year, like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And I need you to say something. So that idea of like, let me resonates, because I haven't been letting him.
Get out of the freaking way, Brian.
Yeah.
Get out of the way and let God in. And you know, there's that space of vulnerability where you don't know the answers, or you don't know if God's going to show up. But it has to be complete surrender. It has to be like, I will, like, let go and let God in. And in that space of complete surrender, that's when God shows up. But when Tyler's jumping in or you're jumping in, it's like, no, but it's got to work this way. But no, I'm pissed at you because of that, because I have this expectation. Or, dang it, I think you're just like my dad, so I'm not going to, like, open up to you. Like, all those things are the things that cause those barriers. And this is easier said than done, but like Tyler, I've had experiences like Tyler's experience where, you know, I'm broken and I'm open and I have nothing other than letting God in. And that's where those answers truly come. So, Brian, we got to wrap up, but I do got to say, this talk has been awesome. It's been awesome for me. I hope this isn't just a 45-minute talk where you feel some things. I hope that you take this, you really kind of think about what we've talked about, you feel the things that you felt, but you actually start to let God in. You actually start to let go. You stop playing those games. And Tyler, I'll speak for Tyler. We can tell that you have purpose.
Yes.
That God has a plan for you. And dang it, like if we talk to you a year from now, 2 years from now, and you're still floundering in the same game, like that's unfortunate because God needs you. You know, God doesn't need you to be perfect, but God needs you to do this work, to let go of these things, to fully step into your recovery. And so I hope you step out, you practice that vulnerability, you practice that transparency, because you're the man, Brian. God needs you. So
I just want to echo what Brannon said and just leave with one final thought here, that it's crazy that we live in a world here, Brian, that I wouldn't know you from anyone other than the story of the life you've lived that pairs up with the life that I've lived. And somehow we're sitting here talking to thousands of people right now. And your presence on this show today was an absolute gift to me personally. I feel so connected to you and I feel so much love for you, but I also know that you are an absolute gift to thousands of people today. And I want you to let that settle in, that there are thousands of people that just heard your story and said, me too. And I happen to believe that that might be more than just me and you. That might be God in the works too. And I just like to let that settle in for a minute, okay? So thank you, Brian.
all right, you guys, if this was helpful, please share it. But don't be shy to share it. There was some good, deep principles in this episode, and go back and listen to it again yourself, and also leave a review to thank Brian for coming on and being vulnerable. So thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you, guys.